Well, what have been the achievements? Well, the first thing to say, as a general comment, is you've heard about the drop in bacterial meningitis in the UK. And if you look at the figures that Hilary's been alluding to from HBA, you see the amazing effect which meningitis C conjugate vaccine has had on the incidence of disease. And this shows the power of vaccines, the importance of a national strategy, and gives us incredible and good hope for Meningo B vaccine. Now, Meningo B vaccine has proved much more elusive than A and C, and for various scientific reasons, but there's now very good hope, and there are clinical trials in progress at the moment, which we hope are going to show very good response and then very good efficacy. So there is great hope for Meningo B. If we look at C, as I've said, this is now really hovering along the bottom line. If we look at Haemophilus B, again a conjugate vaccine, that is hovering along the bottom line. So we know vaccines of this nature work very, very well. If you then look to the future, the trustees had a meeting. Now, Hilary has already mentioned that, and I'm sure Chris will be, if he hasn't already yesterday, to what future research and directions the research will have. Well, obviously, Meningo B is at the back of everybody's mind, and we have to get that right, and we have to help to get that right. Now, one of the interesting things when any of these vaccines have been introduced is we see the drop in the incidence of that disease go down. But there are downsides. And the downsides are very difficult to predict. But we know for Haemophilus and for Meningo C that within the throat and within the ears there are bacteria. And all of us in this room have got them. And our immune system and our skin is keeping them all at bay. But we know that when these vaccines are given, this called the bacterial flora, it sounds like flowers growing out of our ears, doesn't it? This bacterial flora alters very significantly. And bugs which we thought were of no great significance before suddenly start to become important again. So it's a race to predict, it's a race to see what is going to happen. And this is one of the areas that the research group will be looking at in the future. And what will happen when you have Meningo C and you have Meningo B and you have pneumococcal vaccine, what will happen to the flora in the throat and the ears is going to be a very, very interesting question indeed. And within the research community, in the foundation, we have experts who will be able to help on just that. And it's a great privilege to be part of that. The other big initiative is going to be based on meningitis in developing countries. And we know the burden there is absolutely huge. And for obvious reasons, access to healthcare, rapid diagnosis, access to simple algorithms of treatment, access to fluids, often non-existent. And the Foundation has made a decision to look for therapies, for simple ways that this can be helped and that the burden of disease can be alleviated. And in addition to doing that and making a real difference in these countries, of course we're learning more about the disease, more about this alteration of flora, which is going to help us in the UK. So there are benefits and differences all round. Now, my role at the moment, having done this, I'm sure it is 5 years, actually, you can't be saying. Having done this time, so that's right. Having been on this committee and thoroughly enjoying it and made great colleagues and friends through it, is to now act as a link between the trustees and the research committee. So I will go to the research committee, I will be very silent, which isn't my usual role at this meeting, and then take the messages back to the trustees about the grants which we're recommending for funding and why they're important. So in summary, it's a wonderful privilege for me to have been and to be involved in the future with the foundation.